Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very special review for you coming out of the New York Film Festival, my first New York Film Festival that I have attended, and I'm sure it won't be the last, though I only had time to check out one movie because I was in the city seeing Stevie Wonder at Madison Square Garden, which was pretty awesome, and you know, the fact I got to see him is just amazing. He's the best. So while I was there, I did get the chance to see Steve McQueen's latest film, Blitz, starring Saoirse Ronan and Elliot Heffernan. And this movie takes place during the Blitzkrieg in World War II, when the Germans are bombing London, and it centers on this young boy and his mother, of course, played by the two leads I mentioned. And she eventually sends him off to get away from the war, but he kind of goes on like this bit of a journey as he gets lost along the way and tries to find his way back home. Now, I don't know what you think about that story on paper, and we'll get into how I think it is in execution. But first off, let me talk about Steve McQueen for a second, because I've only seen a few Steve McQueen films. I mean, honestly, a handful, because, man, he has a lot. But 12 Years a Slave, one of my favorite films of the 2010s. I think that's one of the most masterful epics, historical period dramas, and one of the most harrowing that's ever been put to film. And definitely deserving of Best Picture that year. That would have been what I picked. And I definitely was excited in 2018 when he came out with Widows, even though I thought that movie sucked. I think that's his worst film. It felt like it was written by Tommy Wiseau. So, yeah, not a huge fan of that, but I was excited when he came back with the Small Axe series, which I all thought were really good overall. Definitely a huge leap in quality, especially Mangrove. So I still have yet to see Hunger and Shame and all those movies, which I hear are phenomenal, and I can't wait to check them out at some point. But I was really hoping this was going to be his return to form in the grand fashion that was something like 12 Years a Slave. I mean, yet again, this is a historical epic, of course, on different soil this time, going back to Steve McQueen's home country. And I will say that this movie has a lot going for it. I mean, right from the opening sequence, I was, like, stunned. Like, it literally catches your attention right from the get with the incredible sound design. I would not be surprised if this did win the Oscar for Best Sound when the next Academy Awards rolls around. Hey, that rhymed. But regardless, I think that there's some very, very stunning sequences in here. And what Steve McQueen does best is capture the absolute horror of war. And I think in those moments was when the film truly shined. Like, I was blown away, jaw dropped to the floor, and a few images. The cinematography here is absolutely exceptional. And there's this one tracking shot that I will say is very similar to the Coppola shot in Goodfellas that led to one of the probably the most stunning moment in the entire film. So I do think that from a technical level, this is really, really immaculate. The production design, you see all these broken down and bombed buildings from the Blitzkrieg, and you know, it really does feel so massive in scope and such an impressive production to pull off. I also thought the Hans Zimmer score is predictably great, but there just isn't enough of it. Like, I just wanted more because it was just so sweeping. And I think definitely one of the things that elevates this movie when it is present in the film. So I really do have to give a lot of credit there. I think it is a very, very impressive film from a technical level. But the script, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, look, there isn't really a whole lot of depth to the main characters in this. Sure, there's definitely elements of racism and paternal love that anyone can really relate to and latch onto, but I feel like the two leads, as great as they were, I definitely think Elliot Heffernan is quite a find, and Saoirse Ronan is always great, like I've been saying in everything, and she could get nominated for this, but I don't really think that her character gets enough to do. So please don't count on that nomination at all. As good as she is, she gets to sing, she gets to cry, you know, it ticks off all the boxes like this whole movie does. But I found this movie to be, one, so scattershot. I mean, there's like 10 different subplots happening at once. I think 5 of them go absolutely nowhere. And I also think that there's a lot of flashbacks that don't really add a whole lot to the story or weave into the narrative in a significant way. And I also thought some of the dialogue here was pretty hokey. Especially a couple scenes that, yeah, I was kind of laughing at how terrible the dialogue is. Not to the level of Widows, of course. I mean, it didn't tank the whole movie for me, but I certainly found this movie to be a bit cutesy-wootsy for its own good, especially considering how dark a lot of the stuff going on in this movie is. And I just think that this movie is really just a hodgepodge of all this different stuff happening at once that doesn't really come together in a meaningful way. I really don't. As I said, the most impactful moments are when you're thrown into the horrors of war. Very similar to 1917 in that case, where you're following this one central character as they kind of experience war, except it's not done in one take. So I really feel like there's a lot to commend this movie for from a technical perspective, and I think the cast is really great overall. And I didn't even mention Harris Dickinson because he's one of the main credited actors, but I don't even want to throw him in the main credited cast because he gets so wasted in this movie. Like, he's in there for like maybe 5 scenes and his character goes absolutely nowhere. So it's like, really? I mean, I'm not really sure exactly what they were thinking with him, and that's the thing, it jumps around to all these different characters. We don't really get enough time to know them. It's like all the friends we lost along the way, but I don't really care about what, you know, is happening in these people's lives. I really don't. It's just kind of taking you through the notions of what was going on in this war in England, and, you know, definitely touches on some deeper issues that I think are very prevalent. Also, speaking of one of the subplots, I have to bring this up. There's literally like a whole Fagin-esque subplot with Stephen Graham, who's just so ridiculously over the top, and it really doesn't matter much at all, and I don't think it fits into the movie very well. So, yeah, I've been going on enough about this movie and jumping all over just like the movie does. And so I will say, I think the best moments in this movie are truly incredible, truly masterful. But I think so much of this film is so disorganized and so surface level that this is definitely one of McQueen's weakest efforts. I'd probably put this right above Widows, because I certainly think it's a lot better than that. And is this going to be a big Oscar player? I'm not entirely convinced. I definitely think it's going to get a sound nomination. I think it's going to get production design, costumes, maybe cinematography that wouldn't be unwarranted. But I just don't think that this is a movie that should be considered for Best Picture. This is like a movie that the Academy would have gone crazy for 20 years ago and nobody would talk about today. So I really think that maybe it could get in because it has all those elements that the Academy usually loves, but I don't think it is worthy of the Best Picture of the year. I really don't. So I'm not predicting it in Best Picture. Let's say that this is going to get quite a few nominations, maybe even for Saoirse Ronan, like I said, but this is far from being one of McQueen's best movies, and it's far from being one of the best movies of the year. Despite everything I said, I'm still going to give Blitz a strong 6 out of 10 just because I think the best moments of this movie are truly transcendent. But I definitely would wait to see this on Apple TV Plus, unless you really want to get that majestic scope of the incredible sound design in a theater, because watching it at the Alice Tully Theaters in Lincoln Center, it was just, wow. It really made me appreciate it that much more. And I definitely think if I'm rooting for anything this awards season, I think sound is definitely something I'm looking forward to see how this film does in. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of Blitz, if you've seen it already, or if you've seen it once this hits theaters or Apple TV Plus. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Do you think this is one of McQueen's weakest movies, or do you think it's one of his stronger efforts? Would love to hear what you think. And of course, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're definitely going to be finishing the TIFF reviews now. I mean, I finished my NIF review before I even finished TIFF. The timeline's not added up here, but I assure you that I'm going to get on that next with my review of Baby Girl starring Nicole Kidman and, coincidentally enough, Harris Dickinson. So please stay on the lookout for that and so much more. I will talk to you guys very soon.